Hey guys, it's Mary Coughlin. I'm the President and Chief Transformation Officer for Caring Essentials Collaborative, and I am picking up where I left off last week, introducing you to the different core measure sets. So today's core measure set that I thought I would talk to you about is the core measure set looking at pain and stress. As I mentioned before, each core measure set has 3 attributes, and then each attribute has 3 criteria. And there's evidence to support each of the criteria and the attributes. And the reason why we got so detailed was to really help the bedside clinician with the clarity of what is the best practice. Based on the 2016 update from the American Academy of Pediatrics around newborn and infant pain management, we shuffled the deck a little bit on our attributes and have now included prevention as the first attribute. Following that is assessment and management, and then the third attribute is the role of the family in not only recognizing pain and stress in their infant, but assisting with the management and the support of their infant through the myriad of difficult challenges that they encounter over their ICU stay. So let's look at prevention, okay? This is the first admonition from the American Academy, is that we first need to look at preventing pain and stress in these individuals. And the literature is replete with evidence-based strategies to do just that. We know, based on a bunch of research, that there are significant long-term adverse consequences associated with unmanaged and undermanaged pain and stress in this patient population. And despite that reality, we continue to struggle as bedside clinicians and prescribers and the whole lot to consistently and reliably manage the pain. Now, I understand the challenges. This is a pre-verbal patient population. It is sometimes very difficult to understand what their actual experience is. But there are a lot of occasions where it's pretty obvious that pain is happening. For example, anytime you introduce a sharp object into human flesh, you will elicit a nociceptive response, consequently pain. And so knowing that, I'm baffled as to why we continue to struggle around having consistently reliable procedural pain management. And please don't think that procedural pain is the only thing you have to fret about, because these individuals have pain associated with their underlying medical and or surgical condition. They may have pain and stress associated with just being in an ICU and being prone or being in different positions that are manipulated for you and are not a spontaneous movement of the individual into that place of comfort. Dry skin, hunger pains, constipation pains, all of these discomforts are what our patient population experience, and yet we fail to really respond to them consistently and reliably. And on that note, I just want to caution you, and please know I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. I get that there's a lot of competing priorities, but at the end of the day, unmanaged pain and stress needs to become a never event for this patient population, and truth be told, any patient population. When you look at the CDC's definitions around child abuse and neglect, acts of omission are a failure to provide needs or to protect from harm or potential harm. And the more detailed definition, I'm just reading it right here from the website, talks about acts of omission are the failure to provide for a child's basic physical, emotional, or educational needs, or to protect a child from harm or potential harm. Like acts of commission, which is another category, harm to a child might not be the intended consequence. And so, many of us actually use that and say, well, my intention is not to hurt them, but they're really, really sick, and so they need X, Y, and Z procedures. We're at a point now where we have very effective interventions that mitigate and manage the pain experience. So we can no longer use the excuse, well, it's not my intention, it's just an ugly consequence of being critically ill. It's not acceptable anymore. We have evidence-based strategies, and I want to throw a challenge out to not only frontline clinicians and prescribers, but to governing agencies and hospital organizations, healthcare networks, and the whole gamut. If you're not holding individuals accountable to a standard of excellence, particularly around pain and stress management, you are failing to meet the needs of the people who you claim to serve. Right from the Joint Commission, we put that down in the HCAP scores that, the patient's pain and stress has been managed. Well, that's all well and good to put that out there for verbal individuals. But again, our patient population is pre-verbal. Parents, we don't consistently educate them. They may not know. They assume that we are managing their child's pain and stress. But are we really? And how do we demonstrate that we are? How are we documenting this? How are we consistently showing the patient had this procedure? This is how I prepared the patient for the procedure, and this is how I managed their experience throughout. Coming back to the prevention. When I was a clinician, we would do labs a lot, and we would do labs, scheduled labs every Monday and Thursday. Why? Well, it was Monday and Thursday, and that was a convenient time for us to collect a bunch of labs to evaluate where they were physiologically. And it kind of created this false sense of security that I didn't really have to fret about my ability or inability to accurately assess the patient's status because I was just going to draw the labs. And we would draw these labs routinely, often without effective procedural pain management. So the purpose of these core measures is really to set out performance expectations for excellence. And excellence in pain and stress management not only serves the individual in their short-term lived experience during the ICU, but it has implications for their long-term growth and development. I invite you all to really consider your current practice as an individual professional, but also how your organization manages and sets the bar for excellence in pain and stress management. So I apologize for all the noise that you're hearing there. That's my Georgie. He heard somebody at the door, and I actually need to go take him out for a walk before the blizzard comes. So I hope I didn't get too crazy about this subject, but it really is time to make this a never event, at least for the patient population that we serve, if not for all patient populations. Thank you very much. Take care and care well, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.